Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome. So I'll just wait a few seconds for people. All right. Welcome to our finale live show for Legendary Readathon. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's see. We'd love to hear what you read for Legendary Readathon. I know Victoria said there were some people really active in her Discord, so that's exciting.
Yes, there's a few people I know who have like many pairings that they read. So yeah, there was people did amazingly.
It seems like I feel like I never even thought of this until I was watching Naomi's TBR, and she was like, "Yeah, you could read fairy tales and fairy tale retellings." I was like, "Duh! Why didn't I think of that? That's so fun."
That's what I did.
Yeah, and Randy did it. Yeah, I know Victoria said someone in her Discord read a whole series of fairy tale retellings.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was.
I feel like I dropped the ball on this.
No, I did. Well, I did too.
Naomi,
I did too. I only read the group read, and then I didn't finish Twilight, so I've basically technically not even read one pairing yet. There's still time. There's still time.
The month is not over.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah, I read by Femme Fatale. I never got to Marnie. I never got to my retelling of Femme Fatales. And then I read Twilight and The Vampire. So I was like, well, I did a little. I mean, I read other books this month, but no other retelling. So I was like, I should prioritize that more. Well,
there's always next year. Yes. So yeah, let us know what you guys read. Jess, let us know what you read. I'm so curious.
Oh, this is totally off topic, but is my dishwasher really loud? Can you all hear my dishwasher? Okay.
Nope.
I just realized, I'm like, oh, my dishwasher's like right over there, and I'm running it. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Okay.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, good.
Yes.
If you hear anything weird, that's what it is. Sometimes it can be loud. That's why.
Dishwasher's really
well, we'll make it through.
Yeah. If I have to, I'll mute myself when.
Hi, Garrett. Yeah, so Naomi, I guess we sort of have shared some of what we read. Why don't we, let's see. Rainey, do you want to share what you read?
Well, I read The Vampire. I started Twilight. I have not finished it, but I've read it before, probably multiple times. And I read Rumpelstiltskin, and I am almost done with a middle grade retelling called Rump. And it's really good. I really like it. It's longer than I thought it was going to be for a middle grade. So it's taken me a little bit longer than I thought. Then I read Little Red Riding Hood, the original. And it's still in my plan to read Red, also the same author, Liesl Sturdorf or something like that. And it's a middle grade retelling. But it's fun because even though I haven't read that one yet, they all tie together. So Rump includes Red in his storyline. So I don't know. I can't really remember if they really talk about like things that happened in her story, or if that happened beforehand. I can't remember, but she's definitely in there, and they're like friends. So, so I'm excited. That makes me excited to read Red because I know they're all kind of intertwined. So
that's fun.
So far, and I got, after seeing Dia's post about Mythos, I got this from my library, but I have not yet started it. So I'm hoping to read a couple out of here and then maybe find a retelling. But there's not that much time left in the month. But
there's still time.
Like 4 days left.
Yeah.
4 days left.
4 days. That's fine. We can do it.
Yeah.
I love your ideas. That's
Yeah.
really fun.
We'll see if I can see them through. But
So, Victoria, you said you read The Vampire.
I read The Vampire, and I'm this far into Twilight. Not very far. But I also have read Twilight before. I'm quite familiar and have seen the movie umpteen million times. So, yeah. Twilight was like, that was my, that was like my high school era. So it was pretty big at the time. And I think I did like start becoming a little more of a reader after Twilight. So I am really happy to be revisiting this. And I'm a Twilight girly. What can I say?
Team Jacob, yeah.
You Jacob.
Twihards.
Yeah, I'm gonna opt out of that group.
There's if you don't have the nostalgia tied to it,
Yeah.
I think that is a big element.
Yeah.
Yep.
It
I
is
think that's completely accurate.
Yeah. I think I reread it a couple of years ago for another readathon, and like I got pretty much as far as Victoria got into it, and I was like, whoa, this girl is so mad at everything, like for no reason whatsoever.
Yes, for no reason.
I don't even care that she had like insta love with Edward. Like that's totally a teenager thing that like every girl I would wager is probably has that in their past. Like that doesn't even bother me because it was written for teenagers. But like just the fact that she's just so mad at everything.
I know. It's fun. It's hilarious because is like people are really nice to her, and like she's the new kid at school, and people are like, "Oh yeah, come over here, sit with us," and she's like, "Oh, these people, this town, I hate everyone." Like, she's a nice person. Yeah, everyone's really nice to you.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, she definitely is a certain type of character.
Yes.
I don't know. I was kind of like, wow, she is just so self-absorbed, and she's so holier than thou in a way, and so much better than everybody. And then at the same time, I'm like, you are being nice to people and encouraging them. Why don't you realize that you're encouraging this relationship or this friendship that they're thinking of?
Yeah.
You're not doing anything to stop it.
Oh man. Yeah. She's a chore.
Yes.
Just a movie is a piece of artwork. So yes.
It's something.
I think it's gonna be a rite of passage for me, and then I'll be done.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain characters in the movie that's a piece of artwork, but
that is also true.
Yeah.
What I do to read Grimm's fairy tales is I have the collection, and every time I read, like I read The Little Mermaid, I was just Anderson, but it's the same thing. When I read that one, I just do a check mark on the table of contents, so I know which ones I've read and which ones I haven't. So then I can go and read other ones that I haven't read.
Yeah,
because it's a lot to just commit to reading them all in a row.
Right. I was doing that with my complete Shakespeare. I was checking them off as I would read them. There's still some I need to read.
There's a lot.
I can use Naomi's tip for like anything, like short story collections, like essays. Yep. That is so
I do it for my Agatha Christie short stories, for my Grimm short stories, all of my short stories. And then for Shakespeare, when I was reading my way through his work, I had tabs on every story. So I pulled out the tab once I finished it. So I didn't have to mark it up, but yeah.
Good idea. Oh, I like it.
It's easy to not have be like, oh, I have to read this whole giant book. I can read this one thing and mark off that I've read this one thing.
Right. Yep. I might actually do that for 30 books in 30 days because she says you can read short stories. So I have a Hans Christian Andersen that I could read some of his.
What's 30 books in 30 days?
Readathon.
Yeah.
Kaylee from Luminous Libro
Yeah.
does it.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And it's basically, it's not necessarily books. It's like
You
short
can read
stories played.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Love
She
it.
does a lot of graphic novels. Yeah. So.
I know people do that for middle grade March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've tried that before. I should
Could
know
never do that.
this stuff by now.
I don't want to overwhelm myself with one type of book.
Yeah. Right.
That does not work out well for me.
Nope.
Nope.
Yes. I mean, after Edward, I think a lot of people had a thing for vampires.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Kind of started a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's true.
And then there were people who already did, like before Edward, but
Yeah.
I was not one of those.
Well, that was what was fun too, to read Polidori and then to read Twilight like next to each other and think about like how the vampire trope kind of flips with Edward, because like, you know, early Gothic vampire is very predatory, very in power, like someone of influence who has this like dark secret. And I feel like Edward is the opposite in a lot of ways. Like she kind of like subverts that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the predator. Like there's a lot of other predators, but he's not predatory. He's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Doesn't read that way on the first time in your 30s.
Yeah.
Doesn't read that way.
Not intended to be, I think, but
No.
yeah. It was written in 2000 and something, so
Yeah.
True.
2005, so YA books they had some different sensibilities at the time.
Yes.
I feel like they were drawing a lot from romance novels, but romance novels aren't necessarily mainstream, and we don't normally be like, every man should behave like this man in a romance novel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, no, we don't do that.
But just Dr. Carlyle is a fox, so.
And I agree with that, actually. I liked him a lot more, and Emmett as well. I liked both of them a lot more than any of the other vampires.
Yeah.
I think Alice was always my favorite, even as a teen.
Yeah, I like Alice.
I love her. I want Alice as my bestie.
Yeah, she's a good character.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, can this book be about Alice?
Oh my gosh.
One we never got an Alice perspective.
I know.
We still could, because she just wrote like Edward's perspective not too long ago.
Yeah. I haven't read that yet. I feel like I might do better reading that as like my reread of sorts, because it would be the same book but told from a different angle.
Yeah.
An angle of somebody that I don't hate as much as Bella.
My cousin enjoyed it. My cousin enjoyed Midnight Sun, if that's the name of it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I've heard good things, from a lot of people. So that's my goal, is to reread the whole series and then get to Midnight Sun.
Okay. I might just stick with Midnight Sun. I feel like I get it all.
Fair enough.
I have to say, my reread of New Moon, I'm 75% through it. I'm enjoying it so much.
Yay.
I think there's so much Jacob in it. Like I do really like Jacob.
Yeah, see.
Like the vampires are so like cultured, but the werewolves are just like teenage boys. So they are wild and funny, and they're like, yeah, let's kill us some vampires. Like, they're just fun. I love the werewolf dynamic and being on the push.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're having fun with it.
I'm having so much fun.
Did anyone read any other vampire books other than Twilight to compare?
I read Dracula back in October, so that's still decently fresh in my mind.
Oh,
Very different kind of book. Very different.
I do not like Bram Stoker's Dracula. Unpopular opinion.
Really?
I'm full of it, but I did not like it.
I didn't
like it I didn't like it the first time I read it, but then I liked it a lot more this time I read it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
Not a favorite of all time.
No.
That is fascinating. I didn't know that you didn't like it, Victoria. Why didn't you like it?
Because there's not enough vampire in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
almost the whole book
like,
is about the other characters and not about the vampire.
Oh, that's boring.
Yeah,
it's misrepresented.
It's the whole middle.
That was a miss.
Yeah, you get vampire at the beginning and then at the end, and the whole middle is no vampire.
I look at Dracula being a vampire hunting book as opposed to a vampire book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you are expecting a bunch of vampires, you're going to be sadly disappointed. But if you're expecting vampire hunting, then that's what you're getting.
Mm.
So it's just misrepresented.
Ooh, that sounds fun, actually. Vampire hunting. I might enjoy that. Now I'm really... We're reading Carmilla. Is that how you say it, Victoria?
Yeah.
For Victoria's Patreon in October. And I'm so excited. I still haven't read Dracula, but I'm excited to try Carmilla.
Me too. It seems like it'll be hopefully a fun one.
Yes. So I guess
it's more like female. It's like female vampire main character. So that sounds exciting.
That could be really awkward to read or really horrible to read, depending on the author's choices. Because so often in classics, women are especially women vampires and all the classics like that. Women are portrayed as being either completely naive and innocent and dumb, which means that they're the good ones, or seductress and trying to sleep with every man they see. And that's the two narratives. And the one narrative is the vampire, the ones who are trying to sleep with everyone. Like that is, so it could be really poor, or it could be the author choosing a different route.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
I feel like is it a feminist work, Victoria? I don't know. I feel like I've heard that it's...
I don't know.
I've heard that it's like a classic of lesbian fiction or something. So, but I don't think a classic is gonna be what we would think of as lesbian fiction today.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea. I know nothing.
We will see. All right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
They love. Okay, wait. Okay, with what? I'm missing. What are we talking about?
Probably she's talking about the more predatory side, and like being more
pursuing.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking you're talking about.
Okay. Sometimes I get behind on the chat. Sorry, Jess. I missed it. Really?
I enjoy this epistolary format too.
That's also why I don't like it. I don't like epistolary format, so I didn't like that element either.
Okay.
So that's why I did not like it.
I actually did like that. I wasn't expecting that for Dracula. So whenever I got that, it took me a minute, but I was like, oh, I kind of like how this is going, why they're talking, or I can see why they chose this format, So it was
it's interesting. Like, I don't like first person, so Twilight was interesting to read because I didn't like her. Yeah. But when it's epistolary, I find that it's easier to read because you're not like, it's not their thoughts, it's what they're writing down, which you don't always write down being like, oh, this person's a jerk. You're like, you think it, but you write, oh, wow, they were really awful today. Like, it's different terminology. Yeah. So I like epistolary over first person every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes being in someone's head does them no favors.
Right.
Why it would be exhausting to be... Wait. I guess it's Edward. He can read minds. I was going to say Alice, but no, it's Edward who can read minds. That would be exhausting to be able to read everybody's mind all the time.
Yep.
You can understand why he doesn't like people too much, right? Like...
I think if he could read Bella's mind, he might not like her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're wasting your time on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. So yeah, let's compare the two stories. That was a good idea, Victoria. So the vampire versus Twilight. So we can talk about, why don't we talk about actually The Vampire first by John Williams Polidori. What did you guys think of that?
I liked it. I felt that it was hard to get into at first, which is for me, because I was listening to it on the audiobook version. And I think just sometimes it seemed like they were switching timelines or something. It's been a while since I listened to it, so I can't remember, but it was hard to understand like whose perspective we were getting at times, or like if they had switched back to an earlier time or if we were in the present. Yeah. So I kind of had a hard time with that, but overall I liked it. I kind of liked how it turned out, and that it got really, really intense towards the end, and just kind of like the reader knew what was happening, but the narrator did not, or didn't fully get it. So yeah, I thought it was really well done in that aspect, but yeah, I just had a hard time. And maybe if I had read it in print, maybe I would have gotten the perspective shift a little bit better. I don't know, but that was the only downfall. I was sitting there like, wait, who's talking now? Are we like, did we go back in time? Are we doing a flashback? I don't know. Yeah. So, but yeah, overall, I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. The horror element for me comes in with like, nobody knows, like he's getting away with things and he's rich and powerful and nobody knows and nobody can do anything about it. And then the one person that can do something about it and does know, like, is powerless to do anything. So I think that's like, that's like the horror of someone like powerful and no one can rise against them.
Yeah.
Yes. Like Lord Byron.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought this was funny. I was like reading this thinking, aren't they supposed to be friends? Are they not really friends?
They don't act like it. I feel like there's a reason why Frankenstein took off and this one didn't. Like, I think it might be the writing and the transitioning between perspectives and even pacing of it. But at the same time, I think it's a really interesting plot. And I like how the person who knows can't speak anything, as opposed to like in Dracula, where the people who know can talk about it openly. So I think I like that element as well. But I think the way it's formatted or the way it's written doesn't promote itself as well as like Frankenstein does.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like people really loved the idea of the vampire. So that took off. The idea took off for sure. But the story itself, like, I don't know. Not that many people have read it.
No. Yeah. I feel like, though, I have seen that, and maybe it's just because there's so many vampire stories, but I feel like I've seen that story in a movie format somewhere.
Maybe.
But I don't know why, because that's like not my typical thing that I would read or watch. But
yeah.
But like, it didn't seem like totally something I've never read before. So I'm wondering if I have read like some form of a retelling of that story and just can't remember who it was or whatever. But
well, I really, so you don't watch like classic horror films or anything, Rainey?
Oh no, I'm not.
That's not your thing.
Horror and me are like, no.
The old black and white Dracula from whatever year, I don't know. Yeah. Seems like it follows the Polidori story very closely, rather than like it's. I think like Bram Stoker's Dracula is not really, doesn't seem like the draw, or I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know for sure, but it seems like the black and white Dracula was following the Polidori version.
Yeah.
Really?
And maybe that's what I have seen, because I can, like, horror back in the day, I can handle that a little bit more. Like, if it's a black and white movie, I'm pretty
It's like
sure.
pretty much cozy.
Yeah.
Classic horror, like black and white, is just cozy.
Yeah, right. I can do cozy horror. That's fine.
Well, it's also not as scary. Like I was watching, I think BBC did this new version of Dracula, and it came out like a few years ago. I think it came actually 2020, 2021. And I watched the first scene and I had to turn it off because I'm a wimp. And it was like where this guy had like bugs, like, or flies, I think it was going through his ears because he was like practically like living dead. And these nuns were like ready to kill him with a stake and getting his story out about Dracula. And I'm like, I can't, even just the way it looks, I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out.
I am
so bad. And it was like scene 1.
Yeah. I'm way better at like reading stuff like that than watching it. I cannot.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, me too. But yes, the Bela Lugosi movie. That's the one I mean.
I know Garrett's a fan of vampires because he read the Vampire Hunter series.
Yeah. I used to in high school, if my social studies teacher would make us watch a movie that I knew was going to have gory stuff in it, I would make him let me go to the nurse. I would come up with some weirdo ailment that I had to be able to go down to the nurse for the duration of the movie.
We should just pull a Bella and faint. Just pull a Bella and faint. Then you'll be done.
Yep. There was a lot of me having my head down on my desk. And
I feel like kids in public school were all so much tougher than me because we watched The Sixth Sense in my freshman class, and I was sitting there like so terrified. It was terrifying.
I went to public school. I was not tough in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, I feel better then.
I was just mom's like, oh, I watched horror movies all the time growing up, and I'm like, yeah, I can't even watch one as like an adult.
Right? Nope.
Same.
Gotta know
and the trailers, even the trailers for horror movies, I'm like, nope, can't watch.
Oh my god,
the trailers. It's 2 minutes, but I can't. I am definitely a wimp, and I'll own that.
Oh my gosh. My ex-boyfriend, he used to do independent films, and while we were dating, he was doing an independent horror movie where he was the killer, I guess. And he would make me watch scenes on his phone, and I was like, no, stop it. Am I going to have to come watch this? I don't need to see this. Luckily, we broke up before then, so I never had to actually watch it.
You mean that wasn't motivation for you breaking up?
No, it probably should have been. Should have been a red flag, but.
Ooh, I've really wanted to read T. Kingfisher. I've heard really good things, but I haven't read it yet.
Oh, I've read Fall of the House.
That is not
cheating. Short books count. Mm-hmm. Short books count. We have like The Vampire was 45 minutes on audio.
Yeah.
It's probably like 20 pages in reality. It's fine.
Oh heck yeah. It's fine. I'm all about the short books. Until October, then I'm all about the long books.
Nope for me.
Nope for you. You read so fast though.
Yeah, but Victorian's different. It's harder to read through.
This is true. Understandable.
I mean, Victoria and I read Middlemarch together, and that was a slog, if anything.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And that's
neither of us ended up being Middlemarch fans.
Nope.
Sadly.
I actually am, but I wonder if I reread it, if I would be. I think I read Middlemarch like when I was first on BookTube, or even, it might have even been before I got the channel. And it was like my first Victober or something. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Kate loves this. I'm going to read this. So I feel like maybe I love it for the hype train that I had in my head.
I want to love Middlemarch. Like, I want to be that person. But it just wasn't the experience that I had. So maybe I'll try it someday.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Mommy's like, you're on your own.
We're not doing a buddy read of that again.
Oh, speaking
Anyways,
of,
vampires.
yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of people, Victoria and I cannot already remember what it was we're supposed to buddy read.
We
And we talked
Yeah.
about it. And I think I remember, but now I already forget. But it's in a text this time.
Yeah.
Yay! Hi. Dia, I already talked about you because I picked up Mythos. I haven't actually cracked it open yet, but this week, that is my last week of Legendary is going to be that.
That reminds me, I started listening to Neil Gaiman's retelling of the Norse myths.
Oh yeah.
And I am just not a Neil Gaiman fan.
I'm
I'm not either. I'm not
I can't
either.
get into anything that he's written, and I'm
Yeah.
so disappointed because I love his ideas. They seem like creepy, but not too creepy. But then I just never love his execution ever.
Yeah, it's the writing style for me that I don't like with him.
No. I think I've only read one thing by him. It was
Me
okay. But
Me also, and it was a long time ago, so I feel like I can't have a Neil Gaiman opinion right now.
yeah.
I've read 3 Neil Gaiman books. I think I've read 3, and I haven't liked any of them really.
Okay.
In regards to Jess's question, I think as long as you have the right perspective going into Dracula, it's worth reading. Like if you're going in thinking you're going to get all a book about vampires, that's not reality. So if you're looking at it as a vampire hunting book, like I said, then I think you'll enjoy it even if you like vampires. But you just need to have the right perspective on what's going to be actually in the book.
Yeah.
And
I
for
agree
The
with that.
Vampire by Polidori, would you guys recommend that one?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's so short.
Yes.
Like what?
I
Go
would.
for it. It takes you like 40 minutes.
Yeah. And it definitely has vampire vibes. So if
Yeah,
you're
the
looking for-
vampire is present all throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's a different
actually-
kind of book.
Yeah. I loved it, except for the very end, which I don't know, did it make sense to you guys that the parents wrote their son a letter not to hang out with the Count? Or no, was he a Count? I don't know. They told him not to hang out with the vampire guy. They didn't call him a vampire because they didn't know that. But
Yeah.
they're like, don't hang out with this guy. He's really cruel. He has a bad reputation. And then they let her daughter marry him?
Well, they're
Did that make
orphans, unless that was like a godparent. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he referenced his parents.
I don't remember that now. Oh, geez. I should have reread it.
I do remember that they were orphans. And so, like, his only family was his sister. But I don't know. And then the summary I was looking up, the summary was like, who might be a vampire. I'm like, I'm pretty sure the guy's a vampire. He does a lot of vampire-y things.
Yeah.
He
makes
might
it pretty
be one.
obvious.
Yeah.
Makes it
So
pretty
apparently
obvious.
nobody else was struck by that. So maybe it was just a me thing.
I don't know. I have to go back and re-listen to it because I just don't remember that. But
yeah.
But I think that was part of me, like, kind of not getting the time frame, like feeling a little muddled in what was happening when, and who was talking, and like who we were talking about. I think that was my biggest struggle with that one, was just like all the perspectives and all the time changes and everything.
Yeah.
So
I ended up reading it physically because that happened to me too when I was listening to it. I was like, I'm confused. I'm just going to read it.
Yeah, I probably should have done that. It's one of my goals for September, is to read more physically. So many no Neil Gaiman fans.
Yes.
There was
And Tony's on the same boat with us.
Yeah, there was a
Old school.
readathon so long ago. I don't remember which one it was, but it was like, I think Becca from Becca's Bookopoly, like that channel, Becca in the Books. She did this one, and they're like, the final thing was to read Starburst, whatever that one is, the Star one.
Yes, that's the one I've read, I think.
Or Stardust. Yeah,
Stardust.
so everyone had to read that, and it was like split 50-50. And I was like, I wish I had looked at the rating on Goodreads before the readathon to know what it was, and then see what everyone's perspective was after everyone was forced to read it. Because it was like literally everyone was forced to read it to finish the readathon.
Yeah.
So it's like, but a lot of people didn't like it. So it's like, maybe Neil Gaiman is like a polarizing author. You either love him or you hate him.
Yeah.
It seems to be the case.
Mm.
Yeah.
I have American Gods, and I want to try it, and I have Good Omens. I own both of them. I just want to. I need to try them. They seem like things I would like.
I feel like again
he did write a Doctor Who as well. I forgot about that.
he writes weird stuff. Like it's all weird, which is not bad. It's just if you like weird, that's your thing, not my thing. But
yeah. I like his ideas. Like I was saying, the idea of American Gods was great.
Mhm.
And I just didn't connect with I don't connect with his characters at all. Like nothing. And generally it's hard for me to get into a story if I don't connect with the characters at all. Even if it's a great idea story. I feel like it's okay if it's a short story. I'll happily get behind an idea story if it's a short story. But if it's a novel, I really need to like I need to get into the characters somehow. Even if I don't like them, I just have to feel something about them, you know?
Mhm. Right.
I've read Anansi Boys, which I think is an earlier Neil Gaiman, and I remember enjoying it.
Nice.
That's the only
Maybe
one.
I would like him.
I
feel like you might
maybe
like
I'm a weird. I like weird stuff, so
Yeah.
You might like it then.
I'll probably like Neil Gaiman.
I feel like I liked
I
Stardust.
like Anansi Boys.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I read it, but I feel like I liked it. I liked the concept of it, but I kind of feel like Christy, I kind of felt like I didn't have any like emotional attachment to anybody. I just liked the concept of the story and like kind of the fairy tale vibe of it. But I didn't really care if he accomplished his goal in the end.
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
This would make
I've read
sense
books by
too.
2 authors, and I haven't liked one author's work, but I've loved the other one, so the book is good in my opinion. But like, I'm talking about Janet Ivanovich here. I do not like her work, and I've tried many books by her solely. But then I read the Fox and O'Hara series, which is with her and Lee Goldberg. Lovely Goldberg. So that series was good in my opinion. But once he stopped writing the series, I'm like, this series is trash now. Like, it's just not worth it. So I was like, clearly, he was carrying the weight in my interest level.
Yeah.
Huh. So I think that's why Good Omens is the same thing.
Okay.
I know there's a screen adaptation of Good Omens going on like right now, I think. And so I know it's got a large following.
Let's think about. Oh, is that Sandro?
Yeah, sorry.
It's been a busy weekend.
Yes.
He woke up from his nap, sounds like.
Thank you for letting us borrow Victoria, Sandro.
Yeah.
So let's think about vampires. We've all read some vampire literature. So I should have looked up more about like the actual like history of I don't know. I don't know what I know so the John Williams Polidori vampire was supposed to symbolize Lord Byron. Is that generally what vampires, classic vampires, are supposed to be? Is it supposed to be like basically the powerful preying on the powerless, or men preying on women, or
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's typically men who prey on women and the weak, but then also women, when they are vampiresses, they turn to be, like I said, seductress, sleeping with everybody, or alluring people and then devouring them. Like there really is no middle ground for classic female vampires.
Okay, so female vampires tend to be one of those stereotypes, I guess.
They tend to be the bad ones, or like Mina in Dracula, who's trying to fight it. Those are the only two alternatives. But I haven't read Carmela, so I don't know about that one.
Has anyone read Anne Rice?
Oh, no. I was supposed
I've read her nonfiction, but not her vampire books.
Yeah.
I would like to try Anne Rice someday.
Yeah. I feel like just from what I've heard about that one, that is more of a traditional vampire type, but I don't know. I can't say. I have not read that yet.
I read the first one and I really enjoyed it, but yeah, I don't think there was, I don't know. I definitely wouldn't, I would probably give it like a 3-star. It was fine. But I didn't go
on. Is that Interview with the Vampire?
Yeah.
I own it. I own that too.
I thought it was fine, but I didn't like it, I think, for the same reasons. I don't know. It was just, it's kind of weird. There is a female vampire in Interview with the Vampire, but she's a child. She's like, I don't even remember how old she is. She's like under 10. But mentally she's an adult. So she's trying to like seduce one of the older male characters because she wants to be considered a sexual being even though she's a child. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. This is weird. Like, I don't want to say it was pedophilic, but it seemed a little pedophilic. I don't know. But regardless, there was that. So that was a different take for sure on the female vampire. I was interested in more in the male vampires, and they were very like, one of them was having a crisis inside of himself about what he was and having to kill people. So that to me is always interesting. Yeah. An internal moral crisis is interesting to me.
I was thinking. Go ahead. I was remembering that I have read the Dresden Files, and that has a lot of vampire elements in it, and there is a character in it that he definitely struggles with it, and it's very. The Dresden Files isn't for everyone. I like it, but it's not my typical thing that I would read because there's a lot of sexual elements in it, and that is typically not me. But I think I like it because there's so much retelling of like mythological characters and stories and things within it. So I have to like take myself away from all that stuff. But it is kind of interesting, the relationships between the vampires and their prey in that book. Like, and I don't know if that's like a typical thing or if that's like a Jim Butcher retelling of it, but they have like people that basically allow him to feed off of the vampires, to feed off of them. And they're not vampires, but they're not really, I mean, they're humans, but they're like, it's a very weird thing. But then I also read the Parasol Protectorate series, and that has vampires in it. And it's the same kind of thing where they have people that they just like, I guess they're like servants or something, but their like servitude thing is to let the vampires feed off of them every once in a while. And so yeah, that might, I don't know if that's like a normal thing in a classic vampire story that they like have servants.
That's an interesting. Okay, go ahead.
I was just because I think the story of vampires started off a certain way and then has turned into so many options.
Yeah.
Like it can be Twilight, or it can be like the BBC version, the movie. Like it can be that dark. It could be anything in between. It can be a moral dilemma, or it can be people who fully embrace it. Like I think there's really no one stereotype anymore. Like it started off as one thing, and now it's become over however many centuries has become a bigger thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's also a main conflict in Twilight amongst the vampires, right? Is that they have some that hunt people and some that are like, I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah. Let's answer some of the comments here. Tony has met Pratchett.
Ooh.
Cool.
So cool.
Very cool.
Yes. So have you read Carmilla Tony? Because Victoria and I are
like
reading that very soon. So we want to hear your thoughts. Yes. Okay. Dia has read Rice.
Okay.
I could see that because it was also known among my friends, that they really took it as like a very kind of like a homoerotic book as well. So that I felt like that went way like totally over my head when I read it. But now looking back, I can see that too. So I feel like there's a lot. It's very much about sex, that series.
With the interview with the vampire series.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know about the whole series, but the first book, there was a lot. There was tormented anguish, which is why I was enjoying it. And then there was like strange kind of sexual ethics happening.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like that is the one thing that like all the vampire stereotypes have, is they're all like sexual beings.
Yeah.
Which is,
and they all have this sex appeal that's just kind of like drawing you in every time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that an element of the Polidori vampire, do you think? I mean, he is preying on women, so I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, and at the beginning, it was talking about, I actually listened to it again earlier today because I was just trying to remember, but it was talking about how like all of the women want to be with him and there's like this big fight for him. So it's like, there's definitely some allure happening there.
It's part of the vampire thing.
Yeah.
Yes. And because it was modeled off of Lord Byron, I feel like there was some bad blood between John Williams Polidori and, I don't remember if it was Byron or if it was Percy Shelley, but there was a lot of, because they were all like free spirit libertine types, they were all in a mess of sleeping together and jealous feelings, and like the ladies with the men, like it was a bit of a mess if you read Romantic Outlaws.
I need to read that apparently, because I don't know any of it.
It was wild. And I feel like I forget which of the men he was upset with, John Williams Polidori, or maybe he felt kind of like, I don't know, less popular or something. I don't know. There was something going on there. I just don't remember quite. So maybe he and Byron weren't really.
I was reading on Wikipedia that when Polidori's story was published, it was falsely attributed to Lord Byron, and that it took years. It took years for him to tell people like, no, Lord Byron didn't write it. It's me. Like it was from one of Lord Byron's like ideas, but I wrote that story, and like the newspaper published it as by Lord Byron, and it wasn't true. So maybe there's a there too.
That would create some bad blood.
Yeah,
that would.
Wow. Oh gosh.
When I was looking for covers of the book, there was a cover with Lord Byron on it, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird. Why?" That's so funny. I've not read. Has anyone read this?
I haven't.
No.
Have you read it, Dia? Tell your thoughts. Hello, Omid. I'm sorry if we missed you.
I've read that one.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's been a long time though, but I have read that one.
What did you think of it?
I was like maybe like late high school, so I think I liked it at the time, but I don't know if I understood it because I think it might have been over my head at the time. But it is also like a vampire story, but it's more about like kind of like Dracula, where like it's more about the research of the vampire and like more about the mystique of the vampire rather than you don't get a lot like vampire action per se. It's more about people researching. It's a bit of a more like slower gothic modern novel. But Dee, I want to know what you thought about that one.
Yeah, what were your thoughts? Why are you bringing them up? Amy from Hearthridge, she just read that. and she was like, I want to read everything about that area now where it was set.
Oh.
So it sounds like she really enjoyed it.
Never even heard of it. Huh.
Wow. There's so many.
I have not read many vampire stories, so
Yeah.
no.
There's
I'm
a
not a
lot
horror
of
fan normally.
Yes,
Yeah.
tell us about it. Ooh. That does sound fun. So, I mean, that's like the mood right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down. Ooh. Thank
I'm down for a reread of that one because I don't know much.
Yes. Let's read it. We have so many buddy reads already, though.
I was gonna say
You know, our
Yeah.
list is like this right now.
Victoria and I have one that we can't remember. So
what were we talking about?
I was like, I'm gonna write it down so we don't forget. And then like 2 days later, I'm like, I forgot.
Yeah, I forgot, Christy, that we were going to read Neverending Story, and then I did not include it in my September TBR, and I was like, whoops.
We totally can if you still want to, but I know you already had a lot of plans.
No, TBRs are made to be broken, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Well, I've given up making them. I'm like, I don't even stick to anything anymore.
Okay, gotcha.
Is it just me, or are classics like that either really short or really long? Like there's nothing like 300 pages.
No.
Does that
Yeah.
strike right with everybody?
Yep, I would concur. There's very few.
Frankenstein's not too long.
It's like 200 pages.
Frankenstein is?
Short.
Yeah, it's one of the shorter ones, but it's still
Yeah.
a novel technically.
Yeah.
I love Frankenstein.
It's a good one.
I didn't remember loving the story that much, and then I just read the beginning of it a couple years ago for a read along, and then I wasn't able to finish it just because of time, but I was like, this is so beautiful. I need to reread this. I didn't expect to love it.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful classic.
Mm-hmm.
It really
I don't know
is.
if
You should
I've
read it in
ever-
July.
Yep.
Yes.
Jane Austen July.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a good pairing with Jane Austen July.
It's a little different than normal.
Yeah. I thought about reading it. I think even this July, and I was like, can I read a Frankenstein in July? I don't know.
You could read it for February.
That's true. Maybe
Mhm.
I would feel more like doing that in February.
Nothing like the month of love to read about someone whose body has been sewn
Well,
together.
As a perpetually single girl.
Yes.
That tracks. So
So
it would work for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
Dia, I remember the historian is really long.
Well,
But I'm glad it has a good audiobook. That's good to know.
That is, I honestly want to read it now.
going
Maybe I'm
on
just in my TBR. I filmed my TBR right before we came on here, and now I'm just like,
ooh, nice.
maybe I should just read the historian instead.
Just refilm it.
Yes, just refilm it. September TBR. I'm reading the historian.
Yep.
Bye.
Done.
So I did, Rainy, you mentioned the feeders of vampires.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I remembered, that reminded me, I read the first Vampire Academy series quite a few years ago now, and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought the writing was very fun, but there were feeder vampires in there, and it was like a pleasure thing for them. For them, it was a pleasure to be fed on.
Yeah.
And
Same
so
in Dresden Files.
okay.
It gives them a thrill.
Yes. So it was kind of controversial then among like the teen. Because it's a vampire academy, so there are vampire teens there, and they would have their feeders.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
And they viewed them feeders as kind of like kind of weird addicts.
Yeah, I can see that. I would say in the Parasol Protectorate, it was portrayed as less sexual. Like, I think it was still kind of there in the background, but they didn't dwell on it as much. It was just that these people were just very devoted to the vampire that they were feeding off, or that they were getting fed from. But definitely in the Dresden Files, there was a lot of that. It was it's something. Not surprisingly, my male coworker is the one that got me hooked on that series, and every time I'd be listening to it and something would come on at work, I'd be yelling at him, and he'd be like, just give it a chance. It's fine.
That's funny.
It's not fine.
I mean, they're really...
I'm like,
I just see you yelling at him, like, this is your fault.
I know. You're corrupting me. What is happening? Like, I am at work and I am blushing right now, and nobody can tell me why. Thank goodness I had earphones in.
That's hilarious.
Those dang vampires.
They're out of control.
They are out of control.
This is good to know. Thank you, Dia.
Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Benevolent vampires.
What?
Is it benevolent vampires?
Yes.
Yeah. That is interesting because there are certain. They deal with that variously in different vampire literature of whether the victim is killed or has to be killed or not. Like in the Twilight books, it's like really a powerful feeling for the vampire, so it's hard for them to stop in time to not kill a person.
Yeah.
Versus like the feeder vampires in Vampire Academy, I don't remember. They stop at some point. They just feed, and then they're. I don't know if they are stopped by somebody else or if they stop themselves. I don't know. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
I know. When I think of Dresden, I think of Leslie.
Yes.
It was I felt really. I kind of forgot the first, like how sexual those books can be, and I recommended the Dresden Files on my channel, like when I was kind of new, and I felt really bad about it because Tia from Tia and All the Books read it, and I think she read it with people, and they were like, "Oh my gosh," and they were like, "But Rainey, you recommended this to me," and I'm like, "I know, it's my downfall. I'm sorry." I was like, "I forgot. I'm sorry." So like, I hesitate now. Like anytime I talk about it, I'm like, "It's a really good series, but just be warned, it's not my typical thing."
I totally know what you mean, though. Like when you forget about an element too, that or like seems less like downplayed in your head, and then you recommend it to someone, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what is this?"
I know. Like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
I had a few hiccups of those, so now I don't recommend books unless I've just reread them. Be like,
yes,
okay, I've read it again. I know exactly what's in it, and I know exactly what I'm recommending here.
Right.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah. After that happened, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to necessarily recommend that unless I put it with the caveat.
See,
I love Harry. I think he gets a bad rap, but
I couldn't stand his perspective. All
he
cares about is boobs.
Well, yeah, but he gets less like that.
Does he?
I feel like later on, I don't know. I feel like it depends on your perspective on him, as a whole.
Yeah.
And I like him. I like the chivalrous aspect of him, whereas other women are like, "Oh, he's so misogynistic," and I'm like, "That's not misogynistic." I get really enraged, but
I wouldn't call it misogynistic. I would say the male gaze is heavy, and I didn't.
yes, the male gaze is heavy with him. Yes, but it gets a little bit better. The more women that he has interactions with and who kind of call him out on some of his stuff,
nice.
it gets better.
I can see that. I bet I can understand totally why people would love the series, and I just felt like it's not for me, but I can totally get why people love it. Like, it's so complex and rich, the world building.
It's definitely complex, and I actually it's been 2 years and we still haven't gotten another one. So I told my coworker, I'm like, am I going to have to spend an entire year rereading this series because I already forgot half of the stuff that happens.
There's a lot of books in Dresden, isn't there?
Yes.
Wow.
So many. There's going to be 22, I think.
Oh, wow.
And they're on 18, something like that.
Dang.
So, yeah. He released 2 in 1 year, and then he's like, just calm down, people. You're not getting another one for a while.
Next year? 2 the year after that?
Yeah. He's like, don't get all excited. I'm not going to keep doing this.
Like, I'm not Brandon Sanderson, okay?
Yeah, right, exactly. Oh.
That is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's the historian, is that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I remember a research element being really heavy in it, and people in the library learning about Dracula.
Ooh.
So it's like a kind of a library centered book.
Yay. That sounds super unique too. Vampires and sci-fi. So is it a collection of short stories, Tony? So let's start with Naomi and then we can work our way around. What was your favorite thing that you read?
Probably The Vampire.
All right.
I mean, when I read Femme Fatale, it was just annoying. And I'm like, I know it's being me modern, but it was annoying. It's just annoying to read about men who are like, oh, a woman won't bow down to me, so she must be a horrible person. And my girlfriend won't obey every word I say, so I'm going to throw myself in the river and drown. Suddenly she's becoming a femme fatale, and I'm like, you're a bit extreme.
Calm down.
Yeah. And literally at one point, the girl's like, you're not my husband. You can walk away. And I'm just like, good on you. And then he goes and drowns himself and she gets in trouble for being a femme fatale. And I'm like, seriously, not your fault.
Yeah.
So I wasn't super impressed. And then Twilight was better than I expected. I expected it to be 0 stars worthy, and I gave it 2.
Okay,
so that's,
Woo! We'll take
Yeah,
that.
that's better. I mean, I tabbed up all the points where I was like, ugh. But it's not a bad tabbing. And then, yeah, Vampire was the best out of all the retellings and tellings I read. So,
did you feel like, I know that Twilight was a bucket list read for you. I need to get it done. Do you feel relieved?
Yeah, it's one of those things you must read in your life. Like this and Stephen King has to be read at some point to be called a reader. So that's the way I don't know. I feel like it was worth reading. So now I can actually say, because I'm one of those people who, if I've never watched a movie, people are going to say, what did you think? I'm like, I'm not going to talk about that because I don't know it. I don't have an opinion until I've actually engaged with that material or engaged with that research. I am not going to say anything because I don't have an opinion. And if I do, it's biased.
Right.
So I was like, I can never talk about Twilight until I've actually read Twilight. I could be like, oh, I've heard this, but I can't say, this is what I think. Now I can actually say, this is what I think. So that's, now officially something I can talk about.
Yeah.
So it was worth reading. It was just not, I don't know, I'm not going to keep it. And it's just not I know
that was the reason that I didn't end up rereading it, because I got rid of all my copies of it because I was like, oh, I'm never going to reread this. And then I couldn't find a copy in my library, which shocks me because I'm fairly certain that I donated my copies to the library. So I don't maybe not, I don't know. Yeah. So it's just like, well, I remember it. It's fine.
I mean, I had some questions about how the world building was. Like, okay, in Twilight, when they bite someone and they become a vampire, all these vampires are floating around the world biting people. Yeah. Why is the world not overrun with vampires? And why are there still humans that they can drink blood from?
That's true.
Because it seems like there's a lot of them floating around just biting people.
Yeah, this is true.
It seems like in Twilight, a lot of them will kill their prey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It was kind of ambiguous about what kind of happens to the people afterwards. I was just like, this is odd. At least I felt like it was ambiguous.
Yeah. It becomes
just like, oh, well.
more clear later in the series.
Yeah, they do kind of elaborate on the vampire world as the series goes.
I'm not going to be reading on.
No, but I'm just
Oh, well. I will say this. I am neither team Edward or Jacob, so too bad. If there were three teams, I'd say just get out of Forks. Just get out of there.
Yeah.
They're all obsessive. They're all controlling. They're all horrible. Just run. That's my philosophy on this.
How about you, Rainey? What's your favorite?
I think that even though I'm not done with it yet, I think I really like Rump. I like fairy tale retellings for the most part. And I like the direction that this one is taking. It just makes because having read, because it was like the one pairing that I actually finished, you in the original, you don't really get to know any of Rumpelstiltskin's motivations for anything. He's just like this crafty little weasel that comes into the castle and wants everything to, wants to barter for, his skill. And then, at the end of it, the whole baby thing, and this one, I have found out about the bartering of the baby and her saying that she would give him her firstborn child, and just the way that affects him and the way that it all comes about in the retelling is just a lot better. Like a lot more nuanced, I guess, than him just asking for her firstborn child and then her being like, oh, okay. And it just makes him a lot more sympathetic, which I just kind of like that kind of storyline, that it's not what you consider the evil character is not always evil. So, and plus being that it's a middle grade, it's all kind of like fun, it's not like a lot of real distress. So so far,
it was smart to go the middle grade route, honestly.
Yeah, because I've read some fairy tale retellings that are like adult books, and I'm like, yeah, no, this doesn't work for me as much.
Yes, middle grade is usually like fun, and you don't have to feel like I cannot get behind this.
Right. Like, now I hate Little Red Riding Hood because she's so horrible.
Yeah, there's those Christina Henry ones that are like horror.
Oh,
while being like Peter Pan retelling and Little Red Riding Hood retelling and Alice, and they're all like they're horror, but they're like YA.
Am I? No, I couldn't. Nope. Can't do that.
I tried and I was like, no.
That's so funny because don't you like true crime?
Yeah, but not horror.
Oh, that is fascinating to me.
Oh, I know. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. And I can watch true crime, but I can't watch horror.
Now I like Into the Woods, which is a
Oh, yeah, that's
sort
a
of, sort of horror-esque, like bad stuff goes down. And
Yeah.
But they're singing, so it's all
yes,
better.
but they're singing and it's lovely.
Yeah, it's Sondheim, so
Yeah.
all is forgiven.
So good.
I actually have not seen the movie version.
Oh, I really, you know what? It is.
I've heard
one
it's a
of the-
disappointment
Was
No.
compared to the play.
No, no,
When they
no.
come to the stage? That's what I heard.
Completely disagree.
Oh, good.
It is one of the better movie musicals I've seen in my life. I think
Okay.
Into the Woods is really well done. The
Yeah.
the Disney movie version.
Yeah, I do
It's
need to see
very
it.
well done.
I feel like I've just been stifled because I'm like, it's so dark. I don't want to, because I don't watch dark movies. So I'm like, "Ugh, I know what this is, and I know what it is, but like, because I know what it is, I'm like, I don't really want to watch the stepsisters cut off their feet. I don't really want to watch.
It's
Like,
not graphic.
that's
They
not
don't
in the
show
movie.
anything. They don't show that stuff.
I know, and I've been told that. And I'm like, okay, I just need to like put on my big girl panties and go watch this movie.
I love the adaptation. I think it's a good one.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll have
I
to-
didn't like the adaptation. I liked the original on the stage, but I
Yeah.
didn't like the Disney movie.
Okay.
That's so
Oh.
funny that you loved it, Victoria. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now I
it's
need to watch
well
this in
done.
August because this would go with our.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna watch it.
That would have been a good option for a watch along too.
Oh,
Dang.
no.
We can still switch it. We don't need to watch Twilight. I'm good if we don't.
She's pushing for no Twilight.
I don't
No,
have
Twilight, we're committed.
unfortunately. I don't have access to that stage, the play,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Is
Or
there anywhere that streams the Bernadette Peters stage version? Because I have seen that.
YouTube? Is it on YouTube?
Is
Maybe? I don't know.
is it?
It could be on YouTube.
Because I know that they did record it, and like back when Blockbuster was a thing, I rented it from Blockbuster. But
Mhm.
I think I watched it at school. But yeah, it's so good.
Well,
I mean,
I would
that's-
totally be willing to stream that instead. If I could guarantee that it's the whole thing and
Oh yeah, that's the only thing. Yeah, I wonder if
Yeah.
Disney Plus has it.
They do.
Or if
It's
they
on
would-
Could be
Disney.
Disney.
Oh,
Is
the
it
On Disney
original.
Plus. Yeah.
Okay.
the stage one or just the movie?
Oh, just the movie.
Just
Okay.
movie.
I
I don't
was just
think
thinking-
Bernadette Peters is. Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Could
that
watch
was the first one that I've ever watched, and or the only one I've ever watched, I guess. And then, well, I've seen it in high school productions since. Which shockingly, the high school production that I saw was brilliant. They did an excellent job.
Nice.
Nice.
I was very impressed.
Oh man. Oh yay! I'm so glad, Dia. That's awesome.
Oh, good. Yay. I need to read that.
Did you reread Twilight with us, Dia?
Yeah, if you did, I didn't realize that.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Tony.
Okay.
In the December time. Wow. That sounds really interesting. I
Wow.
need to check that out too. You call it a collection of novellas, okay. So, Victoria, I know that you read The Vampire and part of Twilight. What do you think? Where do they fall in ranking?
Oh, well, I mean, I have to thank you, Christy, because you have spurred on my Twilight reread that was long overdue. So I just they're so much fun to me. I love them. I just love them. And no, they're garbage, but I love them. Complete. I turn off my critical brain for these babies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Love
they're
them.
just like they're just like potato chip reading. You just have to
they are. They are.
take off your reviewer hat.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I like a good literary book as much as the next booktuber person, but these just they scratch an itch that nothing else does.
Oh my goodness. He has never read Twilight. Wow. Okay. I can see that though. You were probably not a teenager when it came out, so it probably didn't strike your fancy.
Technically, I was not either. I think I was.
Okay, good.
I think I was in college when they came out.
I guess I did know moms who were reading it along with my teenage friends and enjoying it just as much. So it's not just for teenagers.
Well, I told you about when I went to see the movie and all the moms in the audience had a little meltdown when Jacob took off his shirt. And then we all felt real bad about it and had to look up to make sure that he was technically a legal person, that we were allowed to feel that way about. And he was. It was fine. He was playing a teenager. It was fine.
Yeah, no, they're all 30 at least. Right?
Yeah. He might have been at the time. He might have only been like 18 or 19. But we're like, still counts. It's fine.
Dia was just in Forks, which is
that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot I saw your pictures, and we actually talked about this. I think during our reading sprints, we were like, "Dia is in Forks."
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did.
That's what you meant by in Twilight Land.
I'm curious, Dia, are there a lot of like tourists that go to Forks to like because of Twilight? Like, was that a thing, or is it a thing?
Yeah.
I would totally go there for that.
Yeah, I would go.
I would say that the one thing that I really liked about the Twilight series, and I think actually I feel was done well, was the descriptions of Forks. Like, and it really made me like want to be in the Midwest. Yeah, it was very aesthetic. Yeah.
And La Push, the descriptions of the beaches at La Push are just like, I could live here.
So I think if there's something that we can say that she did well, it was her descriptions of the scenery.
The atmosphere.
Oh, it's overrun with tourists.
Oh no.
I wondered.
Wow.
You guys aren't that far away from that.
Yeah, road trip.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why will not be meeting you halfway?
Yeah, you come down from Canada.
I mean, I'm in BC. It's pretty decently close.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If you ever do come, Naomi, we have to meet. Like, we have to meet.
Yes.
I'll be the sad little East Coaster that's just waving at you.
I was wondering if they had Twilight tours or Twilight things.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's cool.
The Forks Thrifty Mart. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. They have Twilight.
Love it.
Wow.
Oh,
I saw your pictures at La Push. That's amazing. This is not surprising, Tony. I don't know that you would enjoy it, so that's probably you don't need to read it. I don't
think we'll give you a pass.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a little different perspective.
It's different.
Yes. That's funny. Yes, we knew what you did.
It was funny. I was talking with my brother-in-law about fairy tales while camping. And I was like, some of these grim ones are horrible. Like, he was like, there's some retellings of them that sound really good. And I'm like, have you heard Rapunzel? Like, that one's horrible. And like Snow White, he buys a dead body. Okay? Horrible. And I'm like, and they have a 6-month-old daughter now. And I'm like, do you want your daughter to grow up thinking that it's okay to marry a guy who buys her body and then kisses her and wakes her up? Like, do you think that's okay? Do you want her to believe that? Like, different perspective here, guy. Come on. Like, you don't want her thinking
will
Rapunzel's
change
great just because the guy kisses her. No. So I was trying to be like, come on, think of it differently. You have a kid now, a daughter.
Oh. Well, so I think we can just about wrap it up here. I just wanted to mention some of the things that I ended up reading. So I did read The Vampire by John Williams Polidori, and I really enjoyed it except for the ending where I was just like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, now I have to reread that.
Now I feel like I have to as well. Maybe I missed something. And I really, really tried to read the biography of Joan of Arc by Helen Castor. But there were so many names and dates that I couldn't get very far. And I don't know that I'll be able to finish it now that the month is almost over. Mm-hmm. I've been reading a little bit, though, every morning. And I just finally, at 34%, reached the entrance of Joan into the story.
Oh, my gosh.
That's too late for her to come in.
Yes.
I understand why it took so long. It's because at this time, in order to understand the Joan of Arc story, you have to understand the Hundred Years' War, which has already been going on for like 20 years or something before she gets into it. So I understand why she makes such a late entry. But yeah, that was a real struggle. And I just feel like so many of the people that I was like really struggling to remember just ended up dying, because it's so bloody history. So yeah, I'm struggling with it, but I'm interested, especially now that Joan has entered the story. So maybe I don't know. It kind of depends if I can finish the rest quickly enough before forgetting who everybody is.
No.
Yeah. So there's that. And I didn't start the Joan of Arc book by Mark Twain yet because Emma ended up moving the book club to next weekend. So I'll start it this week and we'll see. But I'm only just now reading Joan in the biography anyway. So obviously that didn't end up being a pairing, but I should be able to finish New Moon in the next day or two. So I will at least have completed one pairing.
You can do it.
Thank you.
I'll only do one pairing too, so it's fine.
But I would say it's still a success.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun to read different kind of retellings and fairy tales or origin stories, however we read it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it was good.
And it was nice that it was kind of loose without a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good idea, Christy. It's really fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys helped me come up with it because I was really at a loss. Like, how do we do this without boring Naomi this year? Because Naomi did so well with our August last year that she was like, I never want to read more of this. I don't want to read the same story over and over again all month.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I know myself as a reader. I don't read only Jane Austen stuff in July because I'm going to hate Jane Austen and I don't want that.
Right.
I don't read only Victorian novels in Victober because I'm going to hate that. So I read a variety of stuff every month just to make sure I don't hate anything.
Makes sense.
Well, I'm hoping we can do this again next year because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Low key, but fun.
Yes.
Yes.
Like low key. Especially in summertime.
Yes. All right. Oh, that's exciting, Dia. I hope that you enjoy the future months of reading. So you're reading more pairings? Because I'd be curious to know what they are. Ooh, yes.
The Metamorphosis is good.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
I'm probably going to take my pairings into September too, because now that I just got this, I'm like, well, I gotta read at least some of that. So
Yes.
I'm excited. I was flipping through it while we were talking. I was like, ooh. Exciting.
I picked up a big book at the store, and I realized I forgot it, but it's like Roman myths, and it's really big and pretty. And I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll read those going
Ooh.
forward, not just like let it go. Keep going.
Yeah. I watch Jeopardy sometimes with my parents, and there's almost always a Greek myth category, and I feel like I should know these things, and I'm like, oh, I know that story. Who was that? And then I always get it wrong. So I'm like, okay, I need to refresh my memory on Greek myths.
I've always had a hard time keeping them straight because there's so many.
Oh, yeah.
And there's also like so many different versions of many of them.
Yeah.
So I've always had a hard time keeping them straight.
Yeah.
I feel
and
like
there's also the Roman that you throw in there, right? Like
right.
Zeus versus Jupiter and all these different ones. You're like, who are we talking about again?
Exactly.
Yeah. I want to be a person that like loves Greek mythology, but I often feel just like I'm paddling and trying not to drown.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember liking it in high school, but it's been so long so that I don't remember. I don't know if I would like it now or not. So
that's right. Victoria, are you gonna try to read your book of the month book that you were mentioning?
Yeah. It's going back on the card.
Okay.
For a different time. I'm also just not in the mood for that one at the moment.
Okay.
So it's going back in the cart. It'll get pulled another time.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
That's nice.
I'm excited.
Alana recommended that too, so I've had it on my. I should have read that one.
Might have to go back and forth to the office with me this week. Giant book.
That's never a bad thing.
No. I take a bunch of other stuff too to the office, so what's one more thing?
Well, awesome. I guess we will wrap it up here. We had a great conversation.
Yeah. It was fun.
Thank you.
It was very fun.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Yeah. We'll see everybody for Twilight tomorrow night.
Yes. Join us in Victoria's Discord. Bye.
Okay, bye.